so excited to do these stacking pumpkins. They can be stacked or not stacked, it's completely up to you, but I'm going to show these in 3 different sizes and 3 different colors. On screen today, I'm going to be doing this middle color because I think it's the easiest one to show up on camera, but this is the Wool of the Andes yarn, the Tweed yarn for the outside and just the regular for the inside. It's a really affordable yarn and I like the way it looks really natural for this home decor piece. You'll also need a 5mm crochet hook. You'll want a tape measure for this because even though I'm going to give you stitch counts and row counts, if you go by size for this one, because we're just going to make a big rectangle, that also works as well. You'll want some scissors to cut those ends and a yarn needle to weave them in, and then a cinnamon stick for the top of the pumpkin if you want to have a little bit of decoration there. And you'll need some sort of stem. You can also go outside and just use a twig. You can grab a twig from your yard, or you can even add in some of this like wheat into the top of it for decoration if you want. And if you want some ribbon, you can tie some ribbon to the top of this as well. You can accessorize your pumpkins however you want. And if you are ever worried about the stuffing coming out of the inside the pumpkin, which for this one, I really don't think it's going to be a problem. This is kind of a thicker fabric, crochet fabric that we're making. But a trick I like to do is to buy these cotton liners. So these are just bags with drawstring. And you can stick them inside your pumpkin, stuff it with Fiberfill, drawstring the top, and then that makes your Fiberfill stay really secure on the inside of your pumpkin. So let's go ahead and get started and talk about those 3 sizes today. Now on camera today, I will be making the size medium. If you're making the size large, you're going to start by chaining 33. If you're making the size medium, we're going to start by chaining 29 as I've done here. And if you are going to make the size small, we will start by chaining 25. And then we will start to work our very first row in the second chain from the hook. And I love to work in those back humps. And we will single crochet into each stitch across. This means that if you are making size medium, at the end of this row, you will have a total of 28 stitches. For size large, it'll be 32, and for size small, it will be 24. Now, after doing the single crochet stitches for row 1, we will turn our work for row 2, and we are going to chain 1 for a turning chain, but it does not count as a stitch. And for this row, we are going to be working in the back loops only. And that's if we look at the top of our stitches, we see that there are like little V's. We'll be working in the back loop, not both loops, only the back loop for this row. So we will start by working a single crochet in the back loop only for the very first stitch. And then we're going to do that for each remaining stitch across. Single crochet in the back loops only in every stitch across. And now at the end of row 2, we're just single crochet in that last stitch in the back loop only. And row 2 is one of our repeat rows. This is a simple 4-row repeat. And so we're going to move on to row 3 now. If your crochet is curling, that's pretty normal for these first rows. It will lay flat once it has more fabric. So now we're going to turn our work and we're going to do row 3. And row 3 is also going to be a repeat row. We're going to start by chaining 1, tightening down that turning chain, and then in the first 4 stitches we will single crochet into the back loop only. Now after single crocheting in the back loop only for the first 4 stitches, we're going to start what is a really fun repeat, but we'll talk about the details of that so that we don't feel frustrated. We're going to be working the next 2 stitches in a unique way. We're going to skip the first stitch and go into the next stitch with a single crochet. So we're going to skip a stitch, single crochet into the next stitch. And now we're going to go back to our skip stitch. We're going to work backwards into that skip stitch. So we're going to yarn over and go back into that skip stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. And you'll want that loop to come as high as your current stitch or yarn over. We want these loops to really be dramatic. We don't want them to be too tight that we're not going to be able to see them. Then we're going to yarn over again, go into the same skip stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. We now have 5 loops on the hook. I'm going to yarn over and pull through 4 and then yarn over and pull through the final 2. So it's almost a puff stitch, but not quite. We're not using as many strands. So it's almost like a modified puff stitch. We'll do that again. So we'll skip a stitch and single crochet into the next. Working back into that skip stitch, yarn over, insert into the skip stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. Yarn over, insert into the same skip stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 4, yarn over and pull through the remaining 2. And that's what we're going to do until we get to the last 4 stitches of this row. And our stitch count remains the same for every single row. And now that we are to the last 4 stitches of this row, we are going to single crochet them in the back loop only. And that's how we're going to start and end every single one of these puff stitch style rows. And now we will turn our work and we're going to be repeating row 3. So we'll chain 1 for a turning chain, single crochet in the back loop only for 4 stitches. And then we're going to skip a stitch and single crochet into the next. Go back to that skipped stitch and do one of those puff stitches. And then we'll repeat that all the way across until the last 4 stitches. So skip a stitch and single crochet. Working back into that skipped stitch, do one of those modified puff stitches. Now with the last 4 stitches of the row, we will single crochet into the back loop only. And our even rows are the right side rows and our odd rows are the wrong side rows. And the reason why it makes a difference is because these single crochet rows will stick out a bit better, which kind of adds to that pumpkin, those lines that kind of are on a pumpkin. And now we've done our first 4 rows and it's just a 4-row repeat. So to start that over again for our next row, so this would be as if we were working row 1 again, we are simply going to single crochet in the back loop only for every single stitch across. And that's what we will do for row 2 as well. And then when we get to rows 3 and 4, we're just repeating those again. So we're going to continue to do this until we build a pretty large piece of fabric. You can see on this one a little bit better of where we are headed. So for rows 1 and 2, we're just single crocheting in the back loop only. And for rows 3 and 4, we're doing those puff stitch style rows. And we're going to be repeating those until we get to the size that we need for the pumpkin that we're making. Now for these pumpkins, I know you may not want to check gauge. I hear you, it's just a home decor and not a wearable. So the most important thing is this part of the pumpkin we want to be correct. So this is 8 inches here. So make sure when you start that you are working an 8-inch wide strip. And then you can always measure the strip. I've included the approximate amount of rows, but if you don't want to check your gauge, you're just going to go by the measurements. And once your strip of fabric gets to be this measurement, then you can go ahead and stop and we'll join it into like a tube. Now for the size medium, I've done a total of 52 rows. If you are making the size small, it will be 36 rows and the large will be 68 rows. And now it's time for us to join the first row that we did to our current row so that we can start to make this into a pumpkin shape. So from here on out, it's more of an assembly versus crocheting anything else. We're going to go ahead and do the assembly part. Now to join our rows, we're going to go ahead and fold this like in half, and these are the edges that we will want to join. We're going to start by chaining 1, and then we're going to be working in the back loop only of the row closest to us, as well as the back loop only, or if there's just a loop there, of the row farthest away. And then we're going to yarn over and slip stitch those together. And that's what we're going to work all the way down here. So just working through the back loop and then the back loop. Get through that there. And then slip stitch those together. And we'll do that for each stitch across. Now, after working all the way down, we're going to go ahead and fasten off, but leave a long tail because we're going to use it to close the opening. Now, our pumpkin is currently inside out. This is the wrong side facing us, so we will want to go ahead and flip that. So turn it so that the right side is facing us. And now we're going to be taking our yarn needle and we are going to loop through a stitch along the edge. So just a piece of yarn along the edge. I do it about every 2 rows. I'm not doing it every single row. I'm just going to loop through at the end of each row, group of rows, all the way around. So about every 2 rows, you're grabbing a strand of yarn along that edge. After working all the way around, we can go ahead and just pull that strand, and this is what is going to pull our pumpkin closed at the bottom here. And then I'm going to loop through again, just grabbing some of those pieces and make sure that it's extra secure and closed, and then fasten off the yarn strand. And then the bottom of it will be done. Now our next steps are where the fiberfill comes in. This is where we're going to stuff the inside of our pumpkin. Now we don't want to overstuff these, but we want to start to get them into that pumpkin shape. So our next steps are to close this other side, and I've attached a new strand of yarn by weaving it on the inside. That way I don't have to worry about it later. And then I'm going to do the same thing we did on the bottom and just loop through the strand on the edge of every 2 rows all the way around. Now here's where we're going to start pulling this closed, but go ahead and test the stuffing, move it around as you need to get it to form just how you want. And then if you are leaving space for a cinnamon stick, because these can be stacked or not stacked, but you can simply leave a space as you close this for a cinnamon stick if you want to be able to display them individually. Now, I think you could even leave a space for the cinnamon stick and do both, like sometimes throw one in and display it individually, or have a small opening and stack them. Now, once you have your pumpkin set, whether you're leaving this top part open or not, we are going to do a little bit of shaping. And that means we're going to take our needle all the way down the side here, out the bottom center, and kind of pull that. And then you can kind of loop around to the other side of the bottom center, and we're going to go right back up the other side, but we're going to come up the opposite side of where we started. And what this will do, and you can do this a couple times, but what this will do is you'll notice as we start to pull this, it's going to pull in, kind of dimple the top and dimple the bottom a little bit, which is what we want. It helps the stacking, but it also shapes the pumpkin to look more like a pumpkin. So do that for all of the pumpkins. Now we're going to repeat all the steps we did for this one for the other 2 sizes. They just vary in stitch count and row count, but all the steps are the same. And then we are finished with our pumpkins, other than adding a few accessories, putting those cinnamon sticks in there if you want to tie some ribbons. And once again, the cute thing about this set is they are sized perfectly to be a stacking set. That is so cute. I know it's harder to see on camera here. I'm going to try to turn it to the side, but how cute is that stacking set that can be displayed all season long? This is a really quick and fun pumpkin project that's a little bit versatile for home decor and for storing if you want to take out the cinnamon sticks and unstack them. Now, if you stack them and you want them to stay stacked, I would grab some string, some of the yarn, and then you can stitch all of them together so they don't fall. If you're putting them somewhere where they may, you can sew them together permanently. Thank you so much for watching this pumpkin spice trio video. These are so fun to make, and I cannot wait to see your version of them in the different colors that you do. Please be sure to come on over and tag me on social media, as well as subscribe to this YouTube channel, and I will be back with some more fun projects soon.